Hey everybody, I'm back. I wanted to go over what my plans are for Crucible League. Even though the patch notes aren't out yet, I don't expect the two builds that I'm going to talk about to be nerfed. I just don't think they've gained that much traction. They're not super meta, but they are very strong. The first build I'm going to talk about is the build that I actually ended Sanctum with, which I have here. This is a Ascendancy Scion, obviously. That is a Blood Sacrament build. If you've never played this build, it is extremely strong. And actually, a lot of people say it's a glass cannon build, but I really don't think so. I think this build is incredibly tanky, and it also does a incredible amount of damage, and the gear required and the investment to get this build going is really cheap. Actually, you pretty much just need the wand. The issue is, as a league starter, this build is going to take several days to get up and running because the way you get this wand is from the trial master, and not everyone is going to have access to that right away, and it's a kind of a more expensive map earlier in the league. Reason being, particularly why this wand probably won't be available in the first several days, is because one of the pieces of the trial map comes from the delve boss, the that Atsuat, no, it's the Atsuatl, no, not Atsuatl, that's from the temple. But anyways, it's one of those temple bosses, kind of, as one of those temple names. I'm forgetting exactly what the name was, but it drops one of these ultimatum aspect pieces. I think it is Will of Chaos. I'm not entirely sure. Anyways, but that's the main kind of bottleneck to having to starting this build early on, is just being able to gain access to the map. I think still by probably day 3, day 4, I think people are going to start running these maps, and these wands are slowly going to start popping up on the market. So my plan actually is for the first 2 or 3 days, and I might even actually try to go for Trial Master myself. We'll see. I don't know. But my plan is to start this character as a exsanguinate build, and then pretty much as soon as I could buy this wand, I'm going to transition to this character, because this character is just so stupidly powerful that I actually finished Sanctum with this, and I farmed a crap ton of Uber Cirruses, a crap ton of Uber Elders. I farmed a ton of Uber Mavens. That's how I got money for Mage Blood, and I even got like 2 Awaken Enlightens back to back. This build, granted, is a little bit more mid-maxed, but you don't need a Mage Blood for this build, and like, you don't need like +1 Frenzy, 6% max life Comb Spirits. Like, this is probably the best in slot Comb Spirit that's possible. This is like perfect 70-30. Like stuff like this is definitely not necessary. You could just typically, actually, a rare Stygian will do more damage because it's going to give more life. The way Blood Sacrament works is it scales damage pretty much based off of how much life is reserved. 80% more damage with hits per 10% life reserved. The way we have a life tap in here because it gives a huge cost and reservation multiplier than with Awakened Brutality and Second Wind, so I could use it twice. If you don't have this, then there's basically a much longer cast time, as you can see, and it doesn't feel as good. So you have to have the Second Wind, and then it turns into this, which is just insane. And everything else besides the wand, which is the first kind of bottleneck that's hard to get early on, everything else is very cheap. Comb Spirit, 5 Chaos, Glimpse of Chaos, this is not that bad. I mean, this one's pretty nice because it has the Malediction and the buff effect, but still, this is readily available. Just Combs, I mean, no one really uses a Combs in softcore. You would just have a rare Stygian. These boots are actually not too bad to be crafted. Like, getting a perfect pair kind of like this is a little more challenging, but still overall it's actually not too. I mean, this pair actually isn't even perfect because you could actually get 6T1, but it's still pretty nice. Then just a Wrathpith. Wrathpith is actually also a really huge boost to this build as soon as you hit level 68, because you gain the 5% crit chance per 100 player max life and 5% increased spell damage per 100 max life. This shield alone gives us pretty much crit cap. We're at 63 right now, but the wand actually also gives crit chances lucky while on low life. So this is like a free diamond flask effect. Pretty much, actually, I think now, well, yeah, with the changes, it's actually even better than that. So we're actually at an effective like 98% crit chance, so we're essentially crit capped. And then for the tree, you just pretty much spec all into life everywhere. I'm running 3 Grand Spectrums. Again, this is a little bit more of an end game-ish version with Unnatural Instinct. With this is kind of like the best lethal Pride for this build. I'm even running a Sublime Vision with Pride and a pretty nice Watcher's Eye with double damage Pride and physical damage while using Pride. I don't think there's any kind of better Watcher's Eye than this for this build in specific. So this is a physical spell. That's why I'm going to be running in early on the exsanguinate, because it's kind of actually a very similar tree. So for Leakstart, let me get this pulled up. It's actually, this is going to be my Leakstart tree. Let's see if this can load. So this is how the Leakstart tree looks. As you can see, it's kind of similar, not exactly. I don't know if I'll even get to like this whole entire right section of the tree. I might actually just not even do that. Because I don't want to respec this many points. I'll just actually probably just get more life, because I'll run Wrathpith anyway, and that'll give me a lot of scaling through life. So this is the build that I'm going to hopefully transition to pretty quickly, hopefully by day 3 or day 4, as soon as I get the wand. Other than that, this build is just going to start face rolling. And just to kind of show an example, I have a this is my Atlas tree from Sanctum. Pretty much, I was using Wandering Path, and I was just running Ubers, so I had like all these invitation stuffs, Conqueror stuffs, whatever the heck, and I had this little kind of thing where I used the 100% passive effect, so to try to get more of the yellow play. Anyways, all this kind of random stuff. So let's start with the Uber Elder. I haven't actually played this character in probably about a month and a half, but I can imagine this is still going to be a joke, and I haven't even played in so long. We use the Comb Spirit that gives us Berserk. Then we use the Arcanist brand for I think it's this for the curse application. And it's just a joke. I mean, it does just this incredible damage. And the way the way this build works is it actually reserves life. So it's actually quite tanky, because essentially the life of this character isn't actually its life pool, it's the reserved life that's actually the life pool. So it's actually quite tanky, even though you could see that my life is kind of low at all times. It's not really truly the life that this character's at. The one little downside to this build is that if you get dealt a lot of little small hits, what happens is you won't have enough life to reserve to cast Blood Sacrament. So what you have to do is you have to just kind of run around and wait for the your reserved life to come back. Oh, I got killed by something there. Don't know what that was. Let's go back. Let's turn Pride on. You can see right now my life is reserved, but I couldn't cast for a few seconds there. But so the one thing this build actually can't really do is is Delve. Delve is actually quite hard for this build because of that small little flaw. Basically, there's all those like flicker striking mobs and stuff like that. So if you get hit kind of consistently and very fast, it it makes it so that it's very hard to use Blood Sacrament, and so see, I could just kind of take all these hits. Let's just finish this. Looks like he's almost dead. Could tank some of those slams. Let's finish this off. So that is Uber Elder, pretty straightforward, pretty simple. I mean, again, I played in a month and a half, and this is still as easy as it was before. So, so yeah, pretty straightforward stuff. Let me also do the Uber Cirrus just to kind of show this off. Again, this is just like this build just kind of face rolls all this stuff. And I think I have Uber. Yep, I have the Uber Cirrus as well. So let's just do this really quick. So the way the whole life reservation thing works is with using dissolution of the flesh. Basically, it's stating that life that would be lost by taking damage is instead reserved until you take no damage to life for 2 seconds. So that's kind of the issue. You have to wait that 2 seconds. The issue why we use this is because it's 30% more life, which is a huge chunk of damage. We also use blood magic, hence why we use pride in the essence worm. So the life is just damage in this build. So the much life as you can get, that'll give you a ton of damage. So let's go in here for the Uber Cirrus. I remember I ran like 50 of these Uber Elders in a row. I think I got, or not Uber Elder, Uber Cirrus. I picked up one. I was able to get one of the new Explode Flasks. So it's a very good bosser. It's a very good fast mapper as well. So I think I'm going to be doing this exact build for quite some time in the league. Maybe at some point I might transition to something new, but essentially this build is just too good to fail. Unless they completely gut it in the patch notes, which I don't really anticipate. Here's the second phase. We'll just kind of pop everything here. Yep, you got me with that one. The one little thing that's annoying about Uber Cirrus is if he spawns a ton of those degen pools, you'll start to lose life, and it'll be hard to cast Blood Sacrament. That's kind of the one little downside, but as you can see there, still Uber Cirrus is more or less a joke. So, got baited by the Legion Sword. Pretty easy stuff. So this is the Blood Sacrament character. that I will eventually transition into from Leakstart as the exsanguinate character. And this is what I'll be doing for the start of Crucible. Hopefully, if no extreme kind of patch note changes come in. The next character that I will strongly recommend to play, I won't be personally playing it, but I will highly recommend playing it, is the Manabond character by One Mana Left. This build was actually featured on Build of the Week, and it is an incredibly strong character. This was the character that I decided to play after that initial that build that I was trying with the Voltaxic Rift, if you remember, for early on in Sanctum. I transitioned over to this build, and this build is just insane. It can do everything pretty much that the Blood Sacrament character just did. It could do all Ubers. It's a joke. Everything's a joke with this character. The only thing that is literally not a joke with this character is high depth delving. That's where this character can, it still kind of excels in it, but that's pretty much the only challenge for this character. The rest of the entire game is like a joke for this character. All you need is a Mjolnir, an Indigon, an Ivory Tower, a Shaper's Touch, ideally a Mage Blood, but you don't need a Mage Blood to start. Again, you could just use just a Stygian, and then you ideally do want a Squire. If you can get a Squire, that's going to really kind of catapult your damage. The other thing that you really want to try to get early on is the Forbidden Flame, Forbidden Flesh pair for the whatchamacallit, where is it? To get the crit chance, to get pretty much crit capped, you get the Forbidden Flame, Forbidden Flesh, and that'll here it is. The Righteous Providence, Forbidden Flame, Forbidden Flesh. That's probably the one more expensive thing, that and the Squire for this build. Eventually, of course, yeah, you go for Mage Blood, stuff like that, but you don't really need it. But this is the other character that's just insane. I played this also before I switched to Blood Sacrament, and this character, I think actually overall as a fully rounded character, is actually better than Blood Sacrament because it's more tanky. It can do delve, and it's really suited for all content. Blood Sacrament not as much, but Blood Sacrament's a lot cheaper. So this is what I would also strongly recommend. Even as a League starter, you can definitely run this build. You just get Ivory Tower, a Mjolnir, which hopefully shouldn't be that expensive early on. I mean, maybe with that this build did gain some traction from Build of the Week, but still I wouldn't expect Mjolnir to be like several divines or anything like that. And then as soon as you can get an Indigon, and then eventually a Squire, and then you're at that point, once you get a Squire and the two Forbidden Flame, Forbidden Flesh jewels, you're just rolling, and you can easily carry all content, no problem at all. So these are the two builds that I strongly recommend for Crucible. So I am going to be starting out as a exsanguinate character, and then as soon as I get the wand, I'm going to switch over. But I would also strongly recommend Manabond because that character is also just broken and it's just insane. So anyways, I think I've rambled on long enough. That's just kind of my thoughts and my initial plans for Crucible. As long as nothing changes from the patch notes, which should be coming in about 4 days. I believe it's Thursday this week. Patch notes are coming and the league announcement and everything. So it should be exciting. And we will see what comes of it. So thanks for watching.